The Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations for the Baltimore Orioles is Dan Duquette. Dan, thanks for taking the time to join us.
You're welcome, guys. Good morning.
Well, good morning. We've everyone across baseball has looked at all the stats, and everyone knows about the close games and the extra innings, but there are still some statistical anomalies with your ball club. What do you attribute the success your team has had to this point to?
Well, one of the staples of our team has been our bullpen. They've done a really good job all year, and our manager Buck Showalter's real steady. He does a great job, and some of our core players are very good players, and like Adam Jones had a good year. Matt Wieters, J.J. Hardy, those guys up the middle are good, and Nick Markakis, since he come back after the All-Star game, he had that injury. He's been really terrific, and Buck made a great move when he put him in the leadoff spot. That's really sparked our run production. And a couple things we did to strengthen our ball club was the addition of Manny Machado made us a better defensive team, and some of the young pitchers that we had at AAA came up and made a real strong contribution. Chris Tillman, Miguel Gonzalez, Steve Johnson, they came up and they helped us a lot.
Dan, you touched on Manny Machado there, and I wanted to ask about him. I looked at his stats in AAA, or at AA, I'm sorry, and they weren't overly impressive. So there was a judgment call on somebody's behalf to call a youngster out of AA and put into the rotation up there. And whose call was it to take Manny Machado from AA and stick him in the big leagues?
Well, Manny came to our spring training camp, and it's no secret the kid's got a lot of talent. He was the third player selected in the draft a couple of years ago, and the Orioles were fortunate enough to grab him. And Manny looked good in spring training, and it's something that Buck and we discussed after the season started. It looked like we were going to be in contention. It's something that Buck and I discussed about the possibility of bringing Manny up to stabilize our defense, because we were having trouble with our interior defense at third base. So, we kept an eye on Manny, and our infield instructor went into AA and worked with him on the fundamentals for third base. And we were really just waiting for him to get a little bit more experience with the bat at AA. He went out to Manny went out to the Futures game and at the All-Star game in Kansas City, and he looked really good there in the game. He looked confident, relaxed. He got a double and made some good plays in the field. And then the week after that, he hit for the cycle in AA, and we just thought we'd give it a shot. Earl Weaver says get as many shortstops as you can, and then when they get to the big leagues, worry about where they're going to play. So we kind of followed that maxim, and we brought him up. He's done a good job for us defensively. I mean, the kid's got a great arm and a lot of talent, and he's got an extra base hit bat. If you look at his what he's done since he signed, he uses the whole field and gets a lot of doubles and triples, and I think eventually that will translate into home run power for him. He's just 20 years old.
Dan, I want to go back to you talking about Buck Showalter and a move he made to bring Markakis and put him at the top of the order when he came back from the DL. What is it about Buck Showalter and his managerial style that has this team buying in?
Well, Buck is a real pro players guy, and I mean he's in favor of the players, and the Orioles had a lot of opportunity, and Buck made that clear that he was going to give players opportunity to help the team win, and he's given a lot of players the opportunity to play, and they enjoy playing for him. He's very well prepared. He's no nonsense, and he's straightforward with the players, and I think they adopt the manager's preparation for the game, and he and Matt Wieters, for example, they worked very closely together on the defensive adjustments and the plan to get the opposing hitters out. And I think if you talk to Matt, he'll tell you that Buck's a very steady guy, and he's a very fair guy, and he protects his players and supports them.
We're on the line with Dan Duquette, the executive VP and manager of baseball operations with the Baltimore Orioles. Dan, I got one last question for you, and that is, Buck Showalter has made an obvious impact with his club. And we've talked about this a lot on our show about how a manager can come in and kind of instill something bigger than the team, something bigger than stats. That's obviously been the case with him so far. Has there been anything else that the Orioles have been doing lately to kind of give the organization a different sense of itself, this kind of winning against all odds belief system?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing that we did was that we improved our pitching staff. Our starting pitching was the worst in the business last year, and we made some adjustments to our staff, to give some players an opportunity. And that didn't work right out of the gate when we had rotation troubles with Jake Arrieta and Tommy Hunter and Brian Mattis. So we made some adjustments, and we've been able to bring in now Saunders, and then, of course, Tillman came up, and Gonzalez came up, and Johnson came up from the minors. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that we did. And Wei-Ying Chen has been a real stable influence on our team, and I think it was a matter of upgrading the starting pitching that we did. And, our core players were pretty good, and the couple improvements we made in our defense with Nate McLeod going into the left on a regular basis, and are getting stability at second base with Andino and the kid we picked up from the Mets. Those guys did a good job, and then, of course, Machado helped us too. So,
well, Dan,
those are the adjustments we made. I think really helped us.
Listen, thanks so much. We know you've got to run. You've got a busy schedule. That's what life is like in first place.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys, and good luck to you guys the rest of the way.